Good morning and welcome to my garden. I think it's time for a chookie update. I mentioned that I was creating paddocks so that I could rotationally graze my chickens. So this is paddock 1, which comes directly out of the main pen. I've been over-sowing it with cover crop. Once the chickens are finished with one paddock, I mow it, and that will take everything down to the same level. Before I mow it, I oversow it with some seed that can put some other kind of plants in the ground for the chooks to eat, and that can help the ground get healthier. So in this paddock, I've sown it over with cover crop, with wild parrot bird mix, with budgie seed. I had some linseed in the cupboard and I had some mung beans in the cupboard. So that has been scattered all through this paddock. It'll prove very valuable for the chooks to be able to have this diversity in their food. The grass that typically grows here is very thin couch, and the chooks find it difficult to eat it. It's not very nice and juicy for them. So these other leaves from these other things I've grown in here should be much better for the chooks to eat. You'll see I also chopped down the arrowroot along this side. The arrowroot was very tall, very thick. It was creating a lot of shade on my kiwi fruit on the fence there, and it was also starting to fall over. So I used all that arrowroot to put in the garden bed for the kiwi fruit to renew that mulch in there. The effect is that when the chooks come back in here, that arrowroot will have regrown and it'll be fresh and they'll be able to pick at it and eat some of it too. I also cleared a little bit around the arrowroot so that they are still able to dust bath beside it like they love doing. You'll notice my mulberry plants that I've planted in here with the intention of them becoming shade. I'm doing an experiment with those branches. I'm weaving the branches together to create a more horizontal canopy. Now this one here is doing really well. You can see how thick the canopy is, and you can see how the branches have been weaved between each other. I've pruned off some branches up here. If I leave it keep growing out, the branches are just getting longer and longer, and I found I had some branches out here above the fence and all the way out here. But I don't want them to keep growing out in that direction. I'd rather them form a compact canopy and then let the canopy just grow that way. My first efforts of shaping the tree was to weigh them down with milk bottles. And then we had a storm come and all the big branches were ripped off and the tree was ripped down the side. So I let it reshoot, and once it had the branches at the top, then I started shaping them and tying them together. I have used a ripped up t-shirt to take the branch that was up here and bend it over. The result of that is that it is now putting out new shoots up top. So what I will next do with that, I'll bend them and then feed them below and above other branches to create this horizontal surface. Now these branches here are growing lower than I wanted. I'm not sure that I'll let them stay there. After some of these side branches have come around here and have hardened at that direction, then I'll be able to chop off these lower branches and bring the canopy up to that height again. This other tree also lost a branch in that storm when I had the branches weighed down with milk bottles. But you can see it's starting to grow back now. And these side shoots that grow up as a result of the branch being bent, I will feed them under the next branch and then above the rest. And then that way I will continually have branches forming this shape. I'm going to try and feed them round clockwise the whole way around and eventually have that lovely uniform direction shape. But I'm not sure it's always going to work like that. So here on this side, you can see there's one that didn't quite reach, but I still wanted to reshape it. So I've just tied it in the direction that I want it to grow. And as it gets older, it'll become firm and it'll stay in that direction. So between the arrowroot for the chooks to hide under and the mulberry where they can get shade in the middle of the yard, this yard is going to be quite a nice place for the chickens to be. It's plenty of shade, there'll be interest, and I'm looking forward to the fruit dropping and the chooks being able to eat that. Now, anyway, we were supposed to be letting the chooks out. Okay, here you go. Good morning, Becky. Whoops. Let's go this way. Good morning, Becky. Here you go. You can go. You can go. Good morning, Beatty. Good morning, Frolly. You coming out? What is it? Come on. Okay, so we've divided this off into a second paddock. So this will form paddock 2 through here. And you can see I've got wire off to keep them out of there and wire here. Now my dream is to have separate enclosures for them as well. That enclosure currently is where they go every night. And while having separate paddocks makes it possible for them to avoid some of the same grazing area, therefore fewer worms, they're still in the same shelter every evening, every morning until I let them out. Ideally, I would have a separate shelter here and down here so that paddock 3 would have its own shelter, and this is quite a large paddock, so they could stay in here for a larger time. And then paddock 4 would also serve as a large paddock if I had a shelter down there. Now that would have the effect that not only is paddock 1 being rested, but the shelter 1 is also being rested. I could also put a shelter here in paddock 2 so that we could rest that. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 paddocks, each with their own shelter. The purpose of having separate paddocks and separate shelters is that I can rotate them off land where they have been, thus reducing their worm load. I also have the opportunity that if we go away somewhere, we can leave them locked up in this larger pen at the top here because it's double the size, whereas these other shelters are going to be much smaller. This one was the shelter that Moustache used to be in. And the girls have been using this in our rainy week that we've just had, where we had 300 millimetres over 4 days. So they often came down here and graze a bit, and then they'd go in here. So that's my next project. I need to find a way to come up with shelters that I can build, or shelters that someone else can build for me that will be suitable for, well, we've currently got 9 chooks, but we've got some more chicks about to join the flock. So inside the pen, I've made some improvements. Oh, Linus, you've got a lot to say. Hello, girl. What you doing? What you doing? You've got a lot to say. Have you laid? No? So what's this conversation about then, hey? What's all this about? Okay, so first thing you'll notice is that the nest boxes are down low, and I've got 2 extra nest boxes down there. So we have now got 9 hens in here and 8 of them laying, with the 9th one due to start laying again soon. So Bindi has just come back from raising some chicks and rejoined the flock. She doesn't feel very secure in here. The other girls are picking on her a bit. And that was the motivation for me to fix up their night perches. At long last, I've given them the ideal perches that they probably should have had in the first place. So these perches are at different heights, which means they can sort out their pecking order business, and we won't have the ones that are lower on the pecking order having to sit right near the ones that are higher on the pecking order and then getting damaged because they keep being pecked upon. They're stepped up so that it's easier for them to get up and down. Easily 4 hens can fit on each. So this can accommodate 16 chickens, and currently we have 9 in here. So I'm happy with that.